But right now, our special guest tonight has been given some rarely seen power behind the scenes of Australia's greatest sporting achievements. Successful coaches like Graham Arnold, Trent Robinson, Michael Maguire and Michael Cheika have given credit to Bradley Charles Stubbs, which is why he's now called the Coach Whisperer. He doesn't do much in the media and remains a bit of a mystery in the sporting world, but he's agreed to talk to us tonight for the first time. He'll take questions and comments from you, 131 873 on the phone, or text 0460 873 873. And don't forget the email, 2gb.com or 4bc.com.au, and click on the feedback icon. He was to be in the studio with us tonight, but of course the Brisbane lockdown has thrown that into confusion. But he's on the dog and bone. Welcome, Bradley.
Good evening, Bill. Thank you. Very grateful for having me on. How's the day been? Great?
Oh, pretty good, but as you can tell, and you're closer to it than I am, it's been quite chaotic for a lot of people, especially in Queensland. You haven't been directly affected by it, apart from the studio issues, have you?
No, I'm all locked up. It's all good. We're not going out. We're undercover and just firing away as normal.
Well, look, this is a long story, but we'll try to do it justice in the time we have. It all started for you with a shattered dream and a life-changing trauma. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, I was on my way to do the whole world circuit as a professional surfer, had a car accident, shattered my dream. Out of that, I had a nervous breakdown. They locked me up in the padded cell, straight jacket, the acute psychiatric ward. And when you're in there in something like that, I got locked up for 4 days and 4 weeks and 1 day. What they do is they sedate you. So if they can't control you, they sedate you. Then when they sedate you, if they can't control you there, what they do is they just lock you up in the padded cell for a couple of days. And going back then in the early 80s is a bit different now, is people used to get sent off to have shock treatment. About 18 months later, I had a relapse, locked up another acute psychiatric ward for 6 weeks and 1 day. And the funny thing is, you're probably the only person you ever spoke to has broken out of 2 different psychiatric wards. But I live to tell the story, and I've helped more people in the last 12 months not commit suicide than I can even count.
Well, tell us how you got to a point where you could, well, I don't want to put too general a point on it, but self-rehab. You got out of the medication routine, didn't you?
Yeah. Well, what happened is they told my parents and myself that I'll be on medication for the rest of my life. I'd never work a day of my life ever again. I'll be on sickness benefits for the rest of my life. And one day I decided to go cold turkey. I was on, I'd done some research. A lady had 100 milligrams of lithium carbonate and she died. I was on 2,500 milligrams a day for 10 and a half years. I went cold turkey and I've been off it ever since. And I've proven a lot of people wrong because I've gone through the adversity, come out the other side. But now I understand how the subconscious mind works with humans.
Well, on that point, at what stage in your recovery did you start to think, I can help other people with how I've managed to do it? Now, we're not suggesting this is the solution for everybody, obviously, for obvious reasons. But what brought you to that thought?
Well, when I was in the acute psychiatric ward the first time, I realised that, I'm here to get treatment. It's a lot different now to what mental health is like now. But in the 80s, it was completely different. And when I was in the acute psychiatric ward the first time, I looked and I went, wait on, I'm here to get help. If I'm not smart enough, I could be in here 3 months, 6 months or whatever, and I've seen people that have come in, just had a breakdown and completely just go over the edge. So I was actually inside when I was in the hospital.
And how did it start with coaches, mate?
Well, I've been doing it for a long time. I've been researching the subconscious mind for over 38 years, and it started in 2013 when I said to my friends, I'm going to win a grand final with Michael Maguire. And they said, have you got an appointment with him? I said, no, I've got to go down there for business. I'm just going to cold call him, but I'm going to win a grand final with Michael Maguire. And they said to me, wait on, the coaches get paid so much money. They don't hire someone like you. And I said, well, there's no market there, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and create my own market. And that's what I did.
And how was that received by Michael Maguire at the time?
Well, when I cold called him, he said to me, can you have a coffee with me for 20 minutes? And I said, be grateful for 2 minutes. An hour and 10 minutes later, I walked out of his office after standing up in a chair opposite at his desk, telling him 2014, grand final winning champions, South Sydney, done. Left there. 2 days later, he rang me. We were in contact every single day. Nobody knew. And the next time I met him, was in the change rooms after we won the grand final.
Now, is that the first time that other coaches got to hear about you and approached you? Is that how it kind of worked? Did it sort of domino from there?
No, what people don't understand is because I do something that, because I'm not educated, I haven't been to university, people are very sceptical of what I do. So Michael Maguire cold called, Michael Cheika was recommended, cold called Eddie Jones English Rugby, cold called Graham Arnold, Sydney FC, cold called Trent Robinson, cold called Kevy Waters. Because of what I do is I haven't got a degree, people, get sceptical about me. So I've had to go and knock on the door and get in front of people to, give them the belief of what I've got.
Now, it's been often said over the years, and we only recently heard on, I think, a Channel 7 story, wasn't it, that Graham and Trent, at least, are still endorsing you, and are you still working with them to some degree?
At the present moment for the NRL, for the next season, I still believe I've got unfinished business there, but we'll just see what the universe brings. But all the coaches I've worked with, you're still very great friends with them, so they still ring you for things.
Now, I want to ask you what your methods are. Now, clearly, that's a bit of a trade secret, but can you give us some idea? You mentioned the universe, and you mentioned also this declaration of, I'm going to do this. And on occasions, you've actually asked coaches, or you've told coaches, or they've taken your inspiration to actually nominate even a score in a game that they intended to win. How does that work?
Okay, so if you actually get into the depth of it, is your conscious mind has got a frequency of it. So when you learn how to turn the frequency up like a dimmer, you actually get more belief. So what you do then is I just teach people to believe so strong without a shadow of a doubt that this will happen, and you've got to be able to see it. But you've got to be deliberate every single day. You can't just, when you win, what happens is all the media comes in and people tell you, the team, how great they are, and they stop doing all the 1% and the extra 1%. But if you watch the frequency, which is energy from the subconscious mind, which is, physics, you can tell on interviews when they're going to win and when they're going to lose.
Now, obviously, a lot of people are going to be sceptical about that, and I'm sure you've had a lot of people question that over the years. I mean, but I guess the only answer for those who are sceptical is it's a positive thing. So, what harm could it do? What have you said to them about that?
Oh, look, out of when you help someone, I'm just the 1% guy. I just play in the 1% of when I work with a coach. It's usually 100, 150, 200 people. They're involved in a win. So I'm just the 1%. And you got to remember, it doesn't matter who you help. There'll be one person who'll be happy, and there'll be 10,000 that don't like it. But I say to people that I coach, doesn't matter who they are, sporting people or coaches or whatever, or business people, if you're successful, it comes with the territory. I'll give you an example. So you got someone like Cameron Smith. People might like the way he plays and who he plays with. Most successful guy in the NRL history. And most of all the stuff about him on social media is negative with a little bit of positive. And he's the greatest player we've ever had, even if you don't like the way he plays or what team he goes with.
Well, tell us a bit more about that, because you said that to me before in the past, and of course a lot of people agree with you. Let's not muck around about that. But what is it about Cameron Smith in more detail that you think makes him the greatest player?
Well, he's a guy that he can completely focus, and what he's done is he's just mastered it by learning all the little 1%, and he understands that you can control a game by controlling a ref. Now, put it to the listeners this way. Cameron Smith might be in your team, but imagine if he was in your team. Would you love him then or hate him?
Fair question. Yeah. Of course you'd love him.
He does all the little 1%ers, and he's just fine-tuned it, and he's understood that if you can control a ref for 50% of the game, you got more than 50% of the chance of winning. Very smart guy.
So
I've never met him personally, but he is a very smart guy the way he thinks.
Well, obviously, you don't work with every successful sports person around the place, but I'm sure you've observed a lot of others. And do you find that there is a recurring theme in that? Because one of the biggest questions people ever ask is, how do you be successful at certain sports? Because not always the most gifted athletes get to be that.
Well, it's funny that you say that, because when you look at water only runs down. Every competition that's won every year is from the coach that believes stronger than anyone else. That's it. They can have all the money, they can have all the facilities, they can have all the best players, but isn't it funny that some of the teams that have got the greatest leaders have never won a grand final? So how's that work?
Yeah, that's a pretty common thing. Bradley, Charles, Stubbs, stay with us. We're going to take a break. We're going to come back and talk a little bit about how the coach whisperer reputation came about and some of the more, I won't say outrageous, but outstanding comments that have been traced back to you, particularly one famous one from Graham Arnold. We'll be back. And we're talking to one of the most intriguing characters in Australian sport. Love him or hate him, Bradley, Charles Stubbs. We've had some mixed reactions, mate. Cameron Smith, firstly, is nowhere near the greatest player that's ever played rugby league, says one person. Well, you're entitled to that opinion because not everyone agrees, but you're not the only person who's suggested that, Bradley. And the reason behind it is not so much that Cameron's gifted or is able to score lots of tries. He does kick a lot of goals, but the way he manages a game. And is that management part of that positivity that you're talking about?
Yeah, well, he knows how to completely manage a game. Look, everyone's got their own opinion, but if you look at the figures of how many games he's played, how many games, the points and all that stuff, well, I could be wrong. There could be someone else out there that's got more points than him that I don't know about, but that's what I put as the number one.
Again, a couple of skeptics here, but also a person who said that he's got a daughter who's a pretty good swimmer. And people think that she could be something, but our family suffers from a nervous issue and it affects her a lot. Her belief is not strong when it comes to race day. That's a pretty common thing with a lot of talented athletes. Again, without going into trade secrets, what's the building block for getting around that?
Everything's about belief, and the people that have just sent that message, pass on my number. I'll give you a free chat, give me a call, and I'll give you a couple of points to actually help you. Then you can actually decide, what I'm all about and maybe come back on the show and tell someone. Everything's about belief. Kids crave on belief and trust. Everyone does, and most people don't get it.
That's from Jason, by the way. Jason will do that for you, mate. Well, look, if we can't get hold of Jason via that number, I'm not sure whether we can call back on because the text message system might not be like that. You've got a website or something, have you?
Yeah. Just go on to Bradley, www.bradleycharlesstubbs.com and just send an inquiry through.
131873 or 0460 873 873. I just want to get into this thing of the statement. You mentioned when you got up on the chair with Michael Maguire. Now, you had a good relationship too for some time with Graham Arnold, who was coach of Sydney FC, of course, and Socceroos coach. Arnie made a statement at a news conference once which really copped a lot of criticism from some of the media. He declared how much his team would win a game by. Did you have anything to do with that, and how does that work?
Okay, so when you teach somebody how to do it, because nobody does it and nobody talks about it, and the reason they don't talk about it is because they don't do it, understand that the world is full of critics. And when somebody says, I'm going to do this, and this is going to be the score, and this is going to be the time, and this person here is going to score, because no one's ever done it, they all jump on the defensive. Wouldn't it have been better to say to Graham, well, Graham, how did you know that was going to happen? Because everything's clickbait this day and age, everything's negative. Like I said, when you help someone, doesn't matter who you help, one person will love you and 10,000 will hate you.
What was your reaction when did you actually want Arnie to publicly predict that, or is it something you just expect people to keep to themselves?
No, after that one, I said, Graham, okay, that's enough. They can't handle it. Don't even go out in the press anymore. But when you actually do it and you tell, he tells me he's going to do this, I say to him, just don't go on the media because they can't handle it. People don't want to know somebody doing something that people believe is impossible, possible, but everyone's got the same talents as a human being that you can learn this stuff.
Now, it's interesting. Our first caller, Bradley, is Richard, and funnily enough, Richard, we can really answer this question strongly, but fire away.
Oh, g'day, Bill. G'day, Bradley. Happy New Year to you.
Thank you,
Bradley. Fascinating. I'm just wondering, does your work on kids that do music? Because they're like children who don't believe in themselves.
With kids with music?
Yeah.
I work the amount of different genres that come to me. People just think I'm in sport, right? Get my number, give me a call, have a chat to you. I work in all different fields. That if I told you some of the fields I've worked in and I've had miracles happen, people would hammer me, and that's why I don't even say it in the media.
Mate, I'd love to have a chat with you. That'd be great.
Yeah, we'll get my number off Bill. I'll send a inquiry through my website, www.bradleystubbs.com, and I'll be a free chat.
Good on you, mate. I really appreciate it. Thanks, Bill.
Thanks, Richard.
I'm always there to help. On
that subject, I mentioned at the top of the show that Bradley was to be with us in the studio, and one of the reasons for that was going to get one of his pupils in here, one of his more recent pupils. Imam Sayed is a real estate agent in Sydney. Imam, welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me, Bill.
A lot of people obviously are having trouble getting their heads around this, but just in basic terms, first of all, how did you find out about Bradley from the real estate world?
Well, Bradley was in touch with our office. Our director read his book. And then after that, I noticed he gets results. I noticed an impact on our office after he visited our office. He gets results. He has the track record, so I thought I'd seek him. And
again, I don't know, give away as many trade secrets as you like. Sorry, Bradley. How did it work for you?
Well, it came down to changing language, giving me 1%ers, habits that changed. He helps in different ways, changing, like I said, language that I use, structure, that kind of thing. He's helped me in financial life, my family life. I'm grateful for Bradley, but we just got started.
I know you've probably played a bit of sport, Imam, as most young people have. Yeah. You see a sporting coach, if they need you to overcome a particular flaw in your technique, they'll get you to do something over and over again. Is that why you think that you have to vocalise the positivity that Bradley's telling you about?
I think it's more when he gets me to vocalise anything, it's considering whatever I want is already done and then working backwards from there, and it happens every time.
Thanks, mate. Thank you for that. Bradley, I know you've probably fine-tuned this technique over years, but the vocalising, is it a major part of it? Does it matter if you say it to yourself in your head? How does it work?
Yeah, well, the whole thing about it is the words you speak, you get. In my book called The Science of Belief, the words you speak, you get. Most people don't actually speak it because they don't believe it. So the more you actually speak to the universe, because belief is the most powerful energy you have, the universe is the most powerful natural energy there is, the two together, miracles will happen. We're just a pawn in a bigger picture, right? There's something else up there, but you've got to send it to the universe, and you've got to believe at 2001% this is going to be done. Not one little fraction. As somebody says, you can't do it, it can't affect you. And that's the difference.
As you know, there's a huge number of self-help and self-belief coaches out there in all forms, books, audio recordings, people who do seminars, etc., etc. Do you respect some of the work they do? Why is your message any better than theirs?
Well, I think when you look at the world and you go, there's many of them. There's probably 300 million people in the world because of coronavirus. Now the self-help has gone through the roof. But I say, don't look at me and say I'm successful. I feel like I haven't even done it yet. But if you ever talk to somebody, go and have a look what's under the bonnet, because a lot of people have got the nice websites, they've got nice social media, speak well and all that sort of stuff. But when you look under the bonnet, there's no motor, because you need to find out what results they've got. I class everything of what I do about results. I do it in sport, and now I'm absolutely blitzing it in the business world.
Well, before we wrap up, mate, and thank you to Imam Sayed for coming in as well. Obviously, I know you respect other people who do get results, and they are out there. But
yep.
In your situation, how satisfying is it for you to work with other people and get that little bit, even if it is a small increase or whatever, and gets them on track?
Well, what it comes down at the end of the day is when you grow someone and you give them some wisdom and you give them some time, because, somebody comes to me and they can't afford it, I still give them some time to move them on, because unless you're humble, grateful and giving, you never get anywhere. Like, I'll give you an example. I got a business guy that come and saw me. When I first sat down with him, I said, what are you going to do over the next 12 months? He said, about $5 million, about 2 to 3 projects. Well, already in 12 months, we got 23 projects, over $50 million. Now, how does somebody do that? That's what I do. I can go into any business and change the frequency and the vision of any business and increase the bottom line. The difference with business is you don't have to wait until the end of the year to take a photo with the players or whatever that you're involved. Business is all about money.
Now, what I found intriguing, finally, in the whole coach whispering thing is that you're dealing with a coach, and then that coach, of course, has to transfer somehow the message and the performance to a whole bunch of other players. I would have thought, I mean, Imam's a businessman, and he obviously is working directly with his clients. Why do you work through a coach rather than some other people who work perhaps directly with athletes? I know you work directly with athletes too, but how does it work in this situation?
Okay, so when you work with the coach is the boss. Water only runs down. So it doesn't matter when other people work with, the different athletes, the coach is still the boss, and his message, water runs down. That's how it works. Doesn't run up.
Well, I wish you every success, mate, because for every success you have, it's a life changed and improved. There might be skeptics out there, but all you're talking about is positivity. And had any failures lately?
Yeah, look, the whole thing about it is if you just follow the system, it works. The whole thing about it is a lot of people sometimes, they might win a game, and then what happens is all the good game people come and all the press tell them how good they are, and they stop doing what they're doing. And some people don't believe they can actually have something greater than that they've already got. So many people are like that in business or sport.
That is true. Never rest on your laurels, in other words, and you can always try and improve. That's a pretty good message either way. Bradley, Charles Stubbs, thank you very much for your time, and we really appreciate it. All the best.
Thank you, Bill. Appreciate it.
There he is, the coach whisperer. 1-3.